All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Weekly Watt for Friday, May 6th, 2022. I am your host, Colin Jenkins, alongside the future of fitness, a.k.a. Mr. Montana, a.k.a. Mr. Monty Burns Jr.
Monty Burns Jr. Where did that one come from? That's a good one.
So let me explain.
Yeah.
Let me pull this thing up. I got to share this with you because now we've been talking about this picture for me and my wife have been talking about a picture of you for the past 8 years or so. And I've been I tried to find it before our first show, could not find it. I found it this morning. So it's one of our favorites, and I'm going to share it with anybody who's watching the show. It is right here. Here we go. So this is little Eric with the long socks. If you're not watching, if you're listening, he looks like he's from like a 1950s, 60s commercial. Happiest kid on earth.
He's looking good.
Long socks. But then there's this picture of Monty Burns, Mr. Burns from The Simpsons, as a kid, and the resemblance is uncanny.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah. So that's always that it hasn't always been the Monty Burns Jr., but the picture has always been a thing that we've enjoyed talking about. And so
yeah, that picture has given a lot of people who know me a lot of joy over the last 37 years, I think. So yeah,
yes,
I'm glad it brings you guys smiles.
Yep.
That's
it's
a good thing.
Now you just got back from New York on Monday, you said?
Tuesday. Monday or Tuesday. Yeah, I don't know what day it is. I think it's Friday right now. But yeah, it was a good. I was at the Boutique Fitness Conference in New York City. It was great.
Nice. Anything interesting over there? What do you guys talk about?
Well, I think the first thing was everyone was very excited to be meeting in person.
Mm-hmm.
That was huge. And New York City was, just fully alive. I mean, the masks were off, and people were everywhere. The weather was starting to get good, so it was just a really cool period of time to be in New York City. As far as the things that were talked about at the conference, I think what were the changes, kind of the modern age of boutique fitness and in-person fitness, and overall excitement of people being back in gyms again was really great. And the what I presented on and talked about primarily was the future of fitness and the technology aspect, and the big thing that I think may even segue into our conversation today is the merger of fitness and health. And that's kind of where things are going, right? Is, with all the data coming out from wearable devices, and, as soon as that data becomes like medical grade, right, trusted by the medical profession, then we really got something where, maybe someday, Colin, the dream is that a doctor would write a prescription to go see your trainer, right?
I really hope it's not a doctor. Hopefully it's a robot, but yes.
Okay, fair enough.
But a robot tells you where to go.
Yeah. I mean, it very well could happen. But it comes down to the accuracy and the accessibility of the data.
For sure. And the data is growing so crazy in terms of what's being collected, and
bananas.
Now it's just a matter of organizing it in ways that are usable and easy to implement into various systems to get results, right? So I'm sure there's a lot of interesting things being worked on and projects that you probably were listening to down there. But yeah, it's definitely going to be, we'll talk about that a lot today. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Weekly Watt live show, where each and every week we come together to nerd about everything in connected fitness and health. If you like that, you can head over and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Connect the Watts, and watch the show live. Or you can watch or listen to the Weekly Watt podcast later on any major podcast platform like Apple and Spotify. Today's topic will be on the future of CrossFit and how it fits into the connected fitness landscape. Also joining us later on the show will be one of the co-founders of RPM Training, Josh Rogers, to talk with us about their new connected functional fitness platform, Atom, which is essentially a CrossFit connected fitness platform. Exactly. And so really excited to hear about that. This episode is made possible by today's sponsor, Tempo, makers of the Tempo Studio and Tempo Move, but you'll hear a bit more about them later. So let's talk CrossFit. Now, both Eric and I started CrossFit around similar times and opened up CrossFit affiliates around similar times, around 14 years ago, 15 years ago is when
08, I think, is when I opened my first one.
Yeah.
And you and your business partner were, I think, one of the first ones on the Central Coast, right, of California.
Probably one of the first ones.
Yeah. Really.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
That's been a long time. That's yeah. Wow. I always think it was like 10 years ago, but no, it's getting closer to like 14, 15. And that's
it'll soon be 20 years ago.
Oh, geez.
So, I wanted to get your thoughts on, CrossFit's obviously changed a lot over the past 15 years. And I wanted to get your thoughts on, its current direction, its future. And most importantly for us on this show is how it kind of ties in or may tie into connected fitness. So first off, do you still do CrossFit at all? Do you dabble in it? Nowadays, what do you do?
Yeah, I dabble in it. I think I'm much more deliberate with the type of training and kind of the seasons in my life. When I'm skiing, I just try not to do a lot of, as coaches, I try not to do a lot of knee flexion or stuff so I can recover and still ski 3 or 4 days a week. And that's a great problem to have. But when I'm not doing that, I do try to, do elements of CrossFit. So more like tempoed strength training. And then I also do maybe like one very CrossFit style, usually with the Atom application, because I've been doing a beta for them. So I've been taking their on-demand classes and doing something like that. My wife is actually pretty active. She just got back from Brazil she was there in Brazil for 3 weeks, and she did a CrossFit class almost every day.
Oh, wow.
And now that she's back, she's doing CrossFit again here locally. So she's got the bug again.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. What about you?
Well, I CrossFitted myself out of commission. So, I don't know. I trained, from 2007 till 2014. Like CrossFit was all I did or thought about.
Yeah.
In the final 2 years, I was like training like 4 or 5 hours a day. So like I got kind of burnt. Like when I was done competing, it was like, what's the point?
Yeah.
And it's also hard, I think, too, when you are so focused on performing and competing, when you are ready to stop competing, obviously your performance is going to drop. So, how fun is it to do workouts where your scores are like so much farther down than they ever were? So it was very, for me at least, it was very unmotivating to do anything CrossFit related for a while. So I stuck mostly to just like strength training or bodybuilding type programs or just conditioning programs. And then I kind of like eventually got over that and mixed in a little bit more CrossFit. But I think most people who've been doing CrossFit for more than, like, from what I've gathered, I feel like it's 7 years. I feel like 7 years is the mark where most people start to kind of figure out what aspects of CrossFit they like and don't like. And they really start to kind of start just focusing more on the stuff that they like. It's more rare to find somebody, I think, that continues doing like traditional CrossFit stuff without breaks or without other focuses for a while, just because, the whole thing of CrossFit is you're always doing stuff that you don't like. So it's,
right,
exactly. There's a limit to how much of that you can take in your brain.
How do you define CrossFit? I mean, there's the traditional definition, right? Constantly varied. I forget it now. Geez. Constantly varied functional movements performed at high intensity, right? Those are the three things. But I mean, it's such a broad term that's like, well, do you do CrossFit? It's like, well, I don't know. Like, what is CrossFit really? And I think there's a lot of gray in that definition.
So for me, it's because CrossFit was always so gray about it, which was good in some aspects, but also really bad because everything's like, if everything's CrossFit, then nothing's CrossFit. And there were so many things that get, like things got attributed to CrossFit that weren't even originally CrossFit. So like EMOMs, and for example, like that wasn't really part of the original CrossFit. You wouldn't go to like a CrossFit gym or a website and see EMOMs originally. You would see that from other sources and other training sources, but you wouldn't see that got implemented into CrossFit fairly early on. And now it's kind of, you think you see an EMOM and you think maybe CrossFit, right? But now you see an EMOM in any kind of fitness studio, right?
All the time. Yep.
So That's kind of the beauty and the bad part about CrossFit is just that it was so open-ended that it's really hard to define it. I always defined it as the sport of CrossFit or the sport of fitness. And, I've always thought of it as, you could do functional movements at high intensity, and that would be any program really nowadays, especially nowadays. But what CrossFit was unique in is that it was a sport in which there were standards that you could compete in, and there would be competitions and, all that. But then, CrossFit decided they didn't want to be known as a sport of fitness. And I think that was a huge, and they started cutting back on their efforts to promote like their games and their competitions, which I just personally thought was a huge mistake, because if they're not the sport of fitness, then to me, they're nothing without that, because you can do high intensity interval training with functional movements anywhere. It's not unique to that anymore. So I still think it is what makes it unique is having that leaderboard, having the competition, and having kind of a standardized movements that you do compete in. I think that is what makes it unique compared to anything else still. I don't see any other programs having that.
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey for CrossFit, right? Like there's one thing I will give across, well, two things. Number one, they truly revolutionized like the gym setting, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like there's something that, people can say good or bad things about CrossFit, whatever they want, but what it taught us about how valuable a community is when it comes to fitness, from, accountability and having fun and getting people involved and all that. It became like a church, right? It was so powerful for a lot of people. It really was like church. And and the second thing is that it's always had drama, like always. There's always been drama around CrossFit. I don't know why, if it's the leadership, if it's just the people it attracts, but there's always drama. It's like a soap opera.
I feel like it's good though, is there any big company that's like the leader of its space that doesn't have consistent drama I think that's just part of like the positioning. Like if nobody cares about you, then like if CrossFit does something small, it could be like just like Peloton is in Connected Fitness. If Peloton adds a pause button, that's a controversy. Whereas other companies add a pause button, cool, nobody cares, right? Yeah. And so similar with CrossFit, CrossFit does something, it's well known, so everybody's gonna be talking about it, discussing it. It's a controversy. Another company does the same thing, or another fitness model does the same thing, and nobody cares. So
yeah, well, I mean, Peloton also didn't give away Glock 9mm to winners of competitions. So I mean, that was just.
See, I like that. I like that. They're getting your attention. It's better.
Yeah, they did. They do. They definitely get the attention, and I think that's their progress and all of that. And it's like, going back to my wife still doing CrossFit, not a whole lot's changed if you go into a CrossFit affiliate. Like it's still what it was 10 years ago. I mean, the programming, there's a lot more program. Like when you and I used to go in back in the day to an actual class, it was like one workout. That workout was like 3 to 15 minutes long. There was a warm up, a cool down, a little bit of skills. Now it's like A1, A2, B1 through B10, C, and then the burner at the end, right? It's just a lot to pack in.
So that was the negative aspect maybe of the sport side of it, because so when you go to a CrossFit group class, the training there looks nothing like if you wanted to train for CrossFit as a sport. And that's where it kind of got mixed up. It's like, if you want to train for CrossFit as a sport, one, you're not going to be doing like a 15-minute AMRAP and just being cool. Like that's not how to get better at a sport. You train A1, you train multiple movements, you do strength, you do multiple sessions, you pack in a lot. And that was never designed to be done in an hour, at least not for a general person, not safely. And so when people thought, well, CrossFit's about elite fitness and we should make our members the fittest they can possibly be, we should definitely look and see what the fittest people are doing. I think that's kind of what got shoved into classes. And then, for better or worse, that kind of changed how the training looks. And it can be very compact in some gyms, and other gyms. I saw Adam too. I was checking it out. That seems more like traditional, like
very traditional.
One thing, you're going to focus on, get better at that day. You take 30 or 40 minutes to kind of from warm up to prep to go. And that's it. So it's definitely, you still get a wide variety, I think, of different gyms.
Which is also the cool thing too, right? Is that like each individual gym creates its own programming, has its own community. That was the libertarian part of Greg Glassman's vision, right? It's like they're not going to control anything. You just you get trained to be a coach, and you launch your gym, you license, you pay the affiliate fees, and you kind of do whatever you want. Which was pretty cool too. And I think, like you had mentioned, that at one point in time there was the kind of divergence between, okay, is this general physical preparedness for fitness and health, or is this a sport? And I would have gone the other way. Like, you stuck with the sports side of things. I think that was a mistake. I think becoming a sport really confused a lot of people, including like gym owners and clients and consumers. And then it became like overly competitive. And then everyone got, wanted to be an athlete. And like, sorry, not everyone's an athlete. Okay.
But do you think people would have been interested in it without the sport? Would there be a draw to it? And well, that's the question, I guess.
I mean, before the games became a big deal, right? Like,
it wasn't,
no one cared about the games. It was
but nobody cared about CrossFit either.
Yeah, but when was the years that it really started to grow? Like 2011, 10 through 2010 through 2014.
And those were the years when the games were at its peak in terms of popularity. People jumping into the open, competing, telling each other. I mean, after 2014, that's when I believe they cut back on some of the stuff, and that's when their growth also cut back. Not saying that those two are necessarily related, but I don't know. I always think, and this is true of other services as well, not just fitness, but like, it always seems wrong to cater to like the most extreme, but without the most extreme driving the interest, you often can't build a big enough community. So if you don't cater to like that 1 to 5%, sometimes you don't have anybody, because everybody's interested in seeing what those 1 to 5% are doing and following their lead. And so if you're a health, like, if you go to curves, right? Nobody's excited. Like, I joined, like, maybe I'm sorry if you're excited about curves out there, that's fine. But like, there's a different level of interest, I think, because you're not like, you don't have that inspiration maybe.
Yeah. Well, curves is interesting too, because curves is like every year in like the top 3 fitness franchises as far as like revenues and number of locations. And like, don't sleep on curves, like from a fitness aspect, right? Like, the brand may not be like the hottest, sexiest thing ever as CrossFit when compared to CrossFit, right? But there's a lot of people going to curves. There's a lot of locations. Like, from the business side, they're kind of winning, I think.
They're in the top 3, you think?
I'm pretty sure, almost, because I search this thing every once in a while, like top fitness franchises, and curves is always up there. And I'm always like, well, and Jazzercise is another one where I'm like,
they must have changed things. Because I remember there was like a period in which curves was dropping hard, but they must have changed and turned things around.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not privy to, I haven't looked at their public numbers. I'm not even sure if they're public or private, but yeah, it's an interesting thing. And, to get into the question that we start with, like, what is the future of CrossFit, right? Where is it now, and where is it going? I'm not sure. I mean, the pandemic was awful for any boutique gyms, and that's still where the community is driven, is at the affiliate gym level. I know they had the Precision Care. I don't know if that would ever happen with that. That was the one that was like, they're trying to line up a bunch of CrossFit trained doctors to work with gym owners and trainers to become more of a health network.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you remember that? Like, it was a couple of years ago, I think, but I don't know if it ever actually hit the ground.
Yeah, I don't know what they've done lately that's been super successful in terms of like the new programs and stuff they're doing. I don't know. I am curious about how the connected side of things will go. So essentially, I mean, if you think about it, CrossFit was probably one of the first connected fitness programs. I mean, it was one of the first programs just having an online workout where people would follow along to. I mean, it wasn't a video, but it was a workout of the day.
Yeah,
that you would follow. You post your scores or whatever. So essentially, it is a leader in the connected fitness space in one way, but in terms of like modern connected fitness applications, it's probably the farthest behind in terms of being able to create a platform in which people could take anywhere or are at home, or make it more part of their lives than just their affiliate. And that's part of what you're saying, is they that's not their business is serving affiliates, and it's up to affiliates to serve customers. But the problem is affiliates aren't going to create a giant at-home connected fitness network. That's not going to happen. And so, and we'll talk about Adam in a minute, because it seems like that's kind of the direction they're going. But I'm curious, because I've always thought, with connected fitness home, like, so imagine how many CrossFitters there are people who do CrossFit. And we were talking about numbers earlier about how many affiliates there are. And we're thinking maybe between 10,000 and 15,000 as a good estimate.
15 is way high. I would say it's going to be closer to 10. Yeah.
But let's go on the high side of it and say there's 150 affiliates with an average of 150 customers. That would be on the high end, I think, for an average.
So 15,000 with average of 150?
15,000 with an average of 150. So times 10 will be, so let's just say it's a couple million, 2 million, 3 million, 4 million.
But you're good at math.
It's going to be something in that ballpark, right? How many people who have done CrossFit over the past 15 years is way more than 2 or 3 million. It's more like 100 million.
Probably.
So for me, I feel like the vast, vast, vast majority of CrossFitters do not work out on an affiliate. They work out. Maybe they don't work out. That's an option. That's probably the most likely. But 2, they work out at home or they moved on to something else.
Yeah.
But there has to be a huge population. And that's why probably the success of Rogue and their enormous growth is in part of that too, is there are so many people doing CrossFit or CrossFit inspired training at home that it seems like a huge missed opportunity for more companies not to take advantage of that and provide CrossFit type services and training with well-known CrossFit coaches. Again, that's what Adam seems to be doing, but I'm shocked that they're the first ones that I've seen to do it, because it seems to me like a no-brainer. That's the most obvious at-home training that you could do for the average, for how many people who are hardcore interested in doing it. And it just blows my mind that it's so far behind the curve in terms of that. It's
true. I mean, I remember when I first started my gym, which was only, for the record, people know, like 20 minutes north of yours, if that. And you guys actually helped us a lot getting open and kind of figuring all of our stuff out. But a lot of people came to our gym because they were doing it in their garage.
Yeah.
Right. With whatever barbells they could find, old rowers, just, beg, borrow, and steal equipment to make it happen. And that's why a lot of them join. They're like, oh, I don't have to do this alone anymore. And then every time I talk to the RPM guys about, doing about what they're doing at Adam, I think the same thing. I'm like, why is it taking people so long? Why are you guys, in 2021, the first ones to be doing?
Why is a jump rope company the first one to do it?
Yeah.
But hey, if they didn't do it, nobody would. So
I'm super glad they're doing it, and they're doing a good job.
Yeah. No, and it just blows my mind. But we're going to talk. So we'll talk more about this in a moment. And we'll probably be having Josh Rogers from RPM on soon. We're going to take a quick break to talk about our sponsor Tempo, which, by the way, they're in terms of connected fitness platforms, besides like Adam, but the home platforms, they are definitely one of the ones that have a lot of CrossFit inspired type training into there. So I'm going to play their sponsorship and we'll be right. And now a big thank you to Tempo, who has helped make the Weekly Want possible by sponsoring this episode. In a connected fitness landscape that is changing so rapidly, and with the fairly high price it can take to build out your own connected fitness home gym, it's nice to know which products are future-proof and which may become obsolete in just a few years. And that's why I love the Tempo Move. It uses high quality dumbbells and Olympic style plates, as well as, since it utilizes the tech powered by your iPhone, it is built to last long into the future. And that's important because nobody wants to invest money into something that may not last or be made obsolete within just a matter of years. Make sure to check out the Tempo Move with the link below if you haven't done so already. Okay, we're back. So, let's keep digging into that. So, in terms of at-home services, so the biggest problem with doing CrossFit at home, I think, for a lot of people is not having the space, right?
Yeah.
There's a good amount of people with garages though that do, and so finding unique ways to create workouts and services that accommodate a variety of people. That's, I think, going to be probably a big key into building that out. Do you think barbell? I'm curious. I'm gonna one quick thing before we bring Josh.
Yeah.
In. Do you think barbells? I have this theory.
Okay.
I want to know what you think of it.
Yeah.
I think barbells are becoming more and more obsolete for the average fitness application. And the reason I think that, even though I love barbell training, at least the way they are designed now, they're not space effective. Which means for businesses they're bad, for homes they're bad, for a lot of things they're bad. So I'm always curious to see what's going to, or if anything, can replace the barbell in terms. Now, obviously, it'll almost always be used in sports applications and people who want, the higher end, fitness development. But I'm curious what your thoughts if the barbell will be replaced as the go-to strength device down the road.
Oh, that's a good one. I mean, so I think yes and no. I think we've already seen, like, simply put, shorter barbells, right? When you look at like a boutique gym or a small CrossFit affiliate or whatever, or any kind of just in-person gym, they have to be space efficient. The more people you can put in a class, the more revenue you can make, more likely you're going to survive that, critical 5-year period. Right. So I think the barbell is still, to me, the king and queen, whatever you want to call it, of strength training. But I think reducing the size and making it more space efficient, I think, is really critical. And there's a lot of in-person experiences that do that already. And I'm sure a lot of at home as well.
Yeah. I haven't really seen any, but with too many with like shorter, condensed, barbell type device. I'm just curious, but anyway, let's bring on Josh.
Yeah.
Hold on one second. Let me make sure I got everything lined up here. So Josh Rogers is one of the co-founders of RPM Training, and he's going to be jumping in to talk to us about his connected fitness platform, Adam. So let me put him in. Here we go. Hey, Josh, how are you doing?
What's up, guys? How are you?
Hey, Josh.
Good.
Hey, Eric. I didn't know I'd be seeing you here.
Yeah, surprise.
That's awesome.
Awesome, man. So I would want to hear about, how you guys, because, from what I know, I've been a little bit not paying attention to CrossFit too much over the past like 5-6 years. So the last time I had heard about RPM, I'd been using your jump ropes for a long time. So I'm curious to hear kind of the new kind of what you guys are doing is Adam, which is the connected fitness. I know you guys probably don't call it a CrossFit service, but it's a CrossFit service for at home. So I'm curious to know about like how that came about, what it is, and kind of get to know more about what you guys are doing.
Totally. Before we go there, I was eavesdropping on your barbell conversation you were just having, and I think you made an interesting point. But what I almost see it as the opposite, or maybe it's like a bell curve of sorts. But I was in fitness before I knew what CrossFit was. So I had a gym that I opened a couple of years before I started doing functional fitness or CrossFit, and then I completely changed its methodology to be more of a functional fitness gym. But in traditional gym spaces pre-CrossFit, the barbell had already become obsolete. Like the only people using a barbell were dudes, bodybuilders at the, athletes in like strength and conditioning programs, of course, but bench press and squatting, it's basically all the barbell was used for by the general public. Yes, exactly. So I think even when I first opened my gym, I had a bar or maybe two for the personal training clients that I worked with, but otherwise I had this rack of like 3-foot barbells, that we could do a bunch of stuff with in more of our group fitness classes. But then I think what CrossFit and functional fitness did was actually bring the barbell to a whole, like millions of people who probably would never have trained with it. And I was still kind of a holdover from my football days and stuff. I was still doing power cleans and squat cleans and stuff from, but I didn't apply them to my clientele base until I, took the cue from CrossFit and sort of that functional training movement where it's like, oh, everyone actually can use a barbell and everyone should be doing this. And so that was that paradigm shift. But I think now with the home, so this may be a good transition into Adam, is like with the development of the connected fitness and the garage gymmer and the irony of that is that CrossFit started out as a garage gym phenomenon, but you know, only the hardcore knew about it at the time. But I think with the sort of delivery of that and people looking for like space saving devices and people being very attracted to the sort of tonal model of the world where you just hang something on your wall and that's your entire fitness plan. I do think that barbells face an uphill battle in that arena, but I also don't think that everyone has to use a barbell to get really, really fit. Like it comes down to like what you love to do. So if you don't love what you're doing, you won't do it for very long. So you should love it. And some people just love training with the barbell. And I think, you know, as long as you have in a garage, if with a little bit of effort, you can make the space to do so. So it was interesting when we were first conceptualizing Atom, it was like, well, we really want to bring functional fitness to the masses. Like this is something that we think maybe CrossFit is a bit limited in their ability to do just with the brand that they've established and the markets that they've sort of, you know, put so much focus in and their model. But I'm so taken by the methodology of functional training that I just think that like there are just millions of people out there who have no idea that they should be doing this, you know, and will have the same experience that we all had when we started, which was, shit, I wish I knew about this 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You know? Or like, if I'd only known about this when I was a senior in high school, I'd be unstoppable now, you know? And it's like that we all had that experience. And I think that epiphany still waits to be had by the most of the general public. So I think that was what's really exciting about what we're doing with Atom. And I'll go backwards a little bit and talk about that how that got started. But I had a gym for 20 years and really enjoyed delivering that experience to a small population. And so the idea that we could actually bring that in a really like, you know, legitimate way to a huge audience is pretty exciting. And there's obviously some limitations and some hurdles to clear for doing that. It's not as easy to deliver a functional training or functional fitness program remotely as it is to have someone start doing, you know, a cycling program, you know, an exercise bike is like, people can wrap their minds around that. It's like, oh, I just sit on it and pedal. Like that's not too intimidating, but oh, what do I do with like a kettlebell and a sandbag and a pull-up bar and you know, so it's like, I think the process will be a good challenge for us, but I think it's doable and we'll just get better and better at it as we go. But that's the goal, right? Is to make people feel warm and fuzzy about starting a functional training program from ground zero without, you know, maybe they don't have access or the funding or they don't live in the area with a good affiliate or something. So,
you know, I think too, like we were talking about, like there's definitely, you know, obviously hundreds of millions of people who've never tried any kind of CrossFit type training who would like to, but maybe can't, you know, go somewhere. You're saying, but we're talking about earlier before you even jumped on about how many, you know, let's just say there's 15,000 affiliates with an average of 150 members or something. So let's just say there's like on any given year, there's about 3 or 4 million CrossFit members who go to affiliates. Well, there's hundreds of millions of people who've done CrossFit at some point who we decided, you know, probably a good amount of them don't do anything anymore because a lot of people just don't do anything. But a good amount of them don't do something but they still want to. And a lot of them do something at home, but maybe don't have the direction or just like,
or trying to do wall balls in a 24-hour fitness or something.
They're just trying to figure it out.
Or somewhere you can drop a weight.
And it's not even just about not being able to make it to an affiliate because, you know, like I still have like an affiliate gym that I can go to, but I'm so lazy in terms of like, not lazy, it's just time, right? It's like, even though it's 10 minutes away, 10 minutes back, if I want to do a 30-minute workout and my kid's asleep and I got to, you know, go, and we're all busier and busier and busier, it just makes a lot more sense to find something you can do at home. But as most, even though I'm somebody who programmed workouts for years, I don't want to write a program for myself because one, I'll like think about it too much. I'll be like, oh, this is too hard. This is too easy. I don't want to think about any of that stuff. And so even for somebody who knows what they're doing, I think most people would prefer to follow along and just like, hey, just tell me what to do. I just want to know what to do.
Because if you're honest with yourself, it's like, you know, that it's just like food reporting. There's just like I think there's some statistic like, 90% of people underreport what they eat, and it's like so true. And it's the same thing goes for programming. And it's like, if you're only programming for yourself, you're doing yourself a disservice. It's one thing if like, so what I did was, my trick was, don't think about me at all, program for the gym. And then I just get, basically by default trained by my own programming, but I'm not doing it for me. I'm thinking about them. And then I'm like, shit, I got to do 400-meter rowing repeats today. It's like, or 500-meter row repeats today. It's like, well, I would never have programmed that for myself, but I did it for the gym. So I guess I better do it. But yeah, you bring up a totally critical point to how we view Adam and how we're delivering it, which is, yeah, you have an affiliate to go to and you still love going there sometimes, I would imagine. And that's how we feel too. I mean, I come from owning a small boutique gym, that's an important element to the ecosystem. But the reality is that if you want to get the most out of this training, and if you fall in love with it, in an ideal world, you're doing this 3 to 5, maybe even 6 days a week on some level, And so the reality that the person who really wants to get the most out of it and has a full life with kids and spouse and work and, all that stuff, if you're going to get to the affiliate 5 days a week, like that's the elite of the elite at an affiliate. Those are the people that like live, breathe, and eat fitness. But if you could somehow create a hybrid situation where you can go to the affiliate a couple times a week to get that community hit, to connect with your coaches, to get watched in person by a coach, or, to get that, just the different experience that you can't get online, no matter how good that is. If you can go there twice a week, but you have an outlet that has a, programming model for your gym, for your garage, that allows you to bridge the gap between those two experiences, I think that's the ideal scenario for us. Because it's like, oh, I got home from work late and it's 8 p.m., but I really wanted to work out today. The gym's closed, but oh, guess what? I can still do the workout that was at the gym that day because I have a setup in my garage. And the way we've modeled Adam is so that, and we're kind of backing into this a little bit, but so that if you have a workout being done at your gym one day and then you decide to do something at home that day instead, you're not going to accidentally program something yourself like, oh, I just did 100 toes to bar 2 days in a row, or or something to that effect. So the idea would be sync up those programs, even if you don't have every single thing at the gym at your home that you have at the gym. So maybe the gym program has, rope climbs in it that day or whatever. That's not something you're doing at home. Well, Adam has an alternative for you that day that won't be contraindicated to the next day's programming at the gym. So that's the main thing that we're trying to accomplish.
So, and I think I saw that you guys are developing, some sort of like an affiliate program to be able to work with affiliates. And I think, and I want to hear more about that in a second, but just from my end, because you're talking a lot about how it makes sense, because for the average person, they probably can only make it. And at least for my dad, I don't know about your guys, but the average client over like 12 years of just data came around 2.5 to 3 times per week. That was about the average. And I think that's pretty universal. Totally. And in fact, that's not only universal as like what people can go to, it's also kind of like what, in terms of certain affiliates, what is really optimal for a service business, because people who come 4 or 5 times, it's actually not that great to have as a business to have memberships that allow for often for 4 or 5 times a week. It doesn't really help, unfortunately, the bottom line. And that's why you don't see the most profitable gyms like Orange Theory, like gyms that know business better than the average CrossFit gym. They may not provide training as good, but they know their business. And you don't really see them offering a ton of very easily accessible, unlimited memberships to just,
It's totally true. And it's something that's pretty hard to communicate to the gym owner, because I mean, everyone's out there trying to do good. Right. And so at its heart, the difference between a boutique gym owner or like a private gym owner, like a CrossFit gym, and a 24-hour fitness is that the private gym owner actually charges a bit more, but he actually wants everyone to show up.
Yeah.
Whereas the other gym like charges the absolute least they can possibly get to, hoping that no one shows up. Yep. And so that approach is just like completely at odds with one another. But there's something to be said for the fact that your gym, you're basically making money at a gym is determined by time and space. Like, and there's only so much time and there's only so much space to go around. But you get the most from your members when they're making the best results, and you build the most long-term clients when they're getting the best results. So how do you get people to train 4+ days a week without having 30-person classes all the time and competition for equipment all the time and extra wear and tear on everything in your gym all the time and all that stuff? So that's another element that like we haven't even talked a lot about that internally, but it's something that I've been thinking of just as a previous gym owner. Like, I want to see everyone, like I want people to come in, I want to keep tabs on them. But the reality is, like, I actually joked with a client not too long ago before we actually closed our gym during COVID, unfortunately. But I was joking with her, like, okay, your goal is to come twice a week. That was like her thing. She did 2 times a week. She walked and like stuff on other days and whatever. But it's like, as soon as you miss a couple of days in a month, like suddenly your average is 6 days a month. Like, I just had to break it down to her, like, hey, your average training volume right now is 6 days a month. Like, that's just not going to cut it, for what you want out of it. And so the reality is, how do we get people to train like at a volume level that's ideal and not overdoing it, but at the same time being on a consistency basis, right? How do you get them to be consistent, but not stressing your 3,000 square foot gym, to a degree where people start to get unhappy or, don't have the best experience.
Yeah. And not to kind of pitch your own program for you, because I don't even know the details of it, but as an affiliate owner, like, I think the ideal situation for me would be like, I actually, what we did was we cut our memberships, before the COVID stuff, but we cut our memberships to 3 times a week. Like, that was it. Like, Monday and Tuesday was the same workout, so you could choose Monday or Tuesday, that we would mess around with different ideas, but ideally, like, you want people to work out consistently, right? And to have an at-home program that's congruent to their programming at the gym, and maybe to focus at the gym more on things that are more important, because we all know that there's days where, the workout's just like, you get the workout started and you're helping teach movements, but it's not really as critical to have the eyes on some workouts compared to other workouts, right? And so if you could have a gap where it's like, hey, if you want to work out more than 3 days a week, which most people aren't, but if you want to, which we suggest, at home with either body weight, or we have these packages, like, let's just say we have an Atom package you could buy, take home, you have everything you need to follow along our program that makes sense, and be able to, if you're interested in leaderboards, be able to compete both on our leaderboard. And our leaderboard can compete in a wider nationwide leaderboard. I think there's a lot of interesting and fun things you can do
for sure
with that make it really kind of an attractive idea, both for just members and for business owners.
Totally.
Yeah. And one thing I've been using I have had access to the platform and the app and the equipment for, 6 months now, I think, Josh. And it's been, one of the things that jumps out on me from a user experience, which I think is really well done, that if people have taken a CrossFit class, you get that feeling of community, right? Like, the coach knows everyone's name, they're joking around. And I think that's where you guys have done a great job getting someone like Pat Barber, who's basically done most of the classes that I've taken online. And there's no scripting, like you go to like some of these other, connected fitness, there's obviously no scripting. Like, this guy has coached hundreds of thousands of classes. He could do it in his sleep, probably. Right. But it's so good. He's like joking around with people, and, it's non-scripted. If he screws something up, he just corrects it, just like you would in a real life class. And to me, that's one of the coolest things. Like, I like watching the content. Like, I've been doing this long enough where I don't actually follow all the warm-ups per se, but I like watching it. It's funny, it's engaging, and it's something you don't get. Like, no one's trying to be sexy, like no one's trying to be anything, there's not like sprayed on sweat, for the instructors or anything like that. This is real and it's genuine. And I'm curious how much effort have you guys put into get capturing that and trying to make it, in a digital experience?
Yeah, that was something that was, I think, looming when we set out on the whole project. Was like one of the main points was we wanted it to feel authentic and real. And how do you do that? First of all, how do you get the people on a consistent enough basis to produce something like this, to make sure that you have a follow along class every single day you produce a workout? And so that was a bit daunting. But obviously finding the right coach was important, and Pat was local to us. We've known him for years. He's been seminar staff for ages. He knows the methodology like the back of his hand. What you need in order to do that is you need someone who's comfortable on camera, but also so comfortable with the coaching material that they don't have to think hard about either one. So like if you're overthinking it, then it feels a bit more forced or staged. So, and Pat is just by nature like a really funny, sort of, he loves to tease people and just, make his sessions fun. And he comes up with nicknames for people, and it's all real right there. And so we decided from the get-go, like, hey, in a real class, when you're teaching at a gym, if you screw something up, that you just screwed it up, you have to own it, right? And so let's just do that in a digital environment where we just run these things in one take. So there are no cuts or edits or anything. We just push play on the record and Pat runs the class. We have some different camera angles that we can cut between, but essentially it's one take all the way through every single time. And you kind of get what you get. And what ends up being is like a real feel to a class. And the people that are involved that he's coaching are actually real people that would go to a CrossFit gym. We would like to get a higher population of newer athletes. So that's something that we've definitely struggled with. It's like the people who are feel really confident with the training methodology are the ones who really want to be on camera. And so convincing people that are new to be on camera is a bit more challenging, but I think we'll eventually, get better at that as we go, because we want every person, the level 4 beginner who's hopping on the platform, we think they should identify with someone that's in the content as well as often as possible. And so that's something that we're going to work on. But in reality, the classes, even as they are now, it's like real athletes who go to real gyms in the area or have garage gyms or whatever, and they come in and they get coached by Pat, like live on screen. And then it ends up being this thing. And same with you, Eric. Like I have some like unique physical limitations and issues that I need to work on before I work out. So I might have to like do a particular stretch or something that maybe cuts into some of the warm up that's actually being broadcast on the class. So whether I'm following it to an exact T or not, I actually love putting it on and just hearing the banter between him and the other athletes. And it's sort of like, it feels like how you're getting primed for a class in a gym, and you're kind of like your mental sort of focus changes from whatever you were doing that day to like, okay, now it's time to train. Yeah. And then the best part about it is that this really surprised me is that you cannot help but be competitive when it goes 3, 2, 1, go. And it's so different, right? Because like you could be in your garage gym and you think you're working hard, but I know now that I have the videos to train with, that I would never work as hard as I do, because you think, okay, I'm just going to kind of take it easy today. And this is what you do at the gym sometimes, right? Yeah. Now it's kind of like one of those days. I'm just, you kind of like, you disclaimer your workout ahead of the workout for all your buddies, like, well, I'm not feeling it today, or whatever. It's kind of like you're doing that internally to yourself. And then all of a sudden it's like 3, 2, 1, go. And Pat's like, okay, Grayson's on round 2. And you're like, shit, I got to pick it up a little bit. And then it's just like, it gets you and it's like, oh man. And then you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to beat him. Oh man. And then it's like, it ends up being this really fun, realistic experience for even someone who's been doing this and been coaching it and been programming it for 15 years.
Yeah, no, I'm always amazed by how much it helps to have that just coach or just something to follow along to, as you know, and how much more. I used to actually from 2007 through 2014, so about 7 years, and I owned an affiliate as well. I probably took less than 5 CrossFit classes ever. I just always just trained on my own.
Yep.
I mean, I might have a training partner occasionally, but even that was like kind of it was just a matter of focus and doing your own thing. So I was never very into, even though I coached a lot of classes, I was never really into taking classes. But now that I'm an older shell of who I once was, like just the motivation to like get me moving, it's so helpful. And I couldn't imagine just going to the, I don't have that ability to just go to the garage and be like, you know what, I'm going to do, I saw you guys did DT the other on Adam. I could never just do that and be like, and push myself hard. I might do like a round and be like, maybe I should do like a minute rest. I would just make something up to like to make myself slow down. But if I really wanted to be motivated, I think I have to have something like that. And I think that maybe for a lot of people, that's probably, they're in a similar situation with their at-home training.
Yeah, I mean, I would think nearly everyone, right? I mean, except for the people who are, maybe truly on the competitive track, or like a gym owner who has access to the gym in the next room, 24 hours a day, or, as basically that's how much time we spend at the gym as gym owners. So it's like, you can always just walk next door and work out. But as soon as you're not in that environment again, and I would even qualify like ex-athletes as well, like whether that's you retired from high school or college or the pros, it's like you've been told what to do your whole life by a strength and conditioning coach. And we have just, in our sort of talks with athletes about Adam, and helping get some former players and stuff on the platform to see what they think, there's a lot of stories about, oh yeah, like I actually called my brother and to find out what to do with a kettlebell. And it's like, you are a multi-million-dollar paid athlete and you're not exactly sure what to do with this kettlebell, sort of thing, So even someone at that level could use something like this. And then you take it all the way down to the person who's never done it before. And we know how many people are out there that need it. Or maybe like, and, as a brand, RPM sort of lives at the intersection of outdoor sports, action sports, adventure, and training, just because that we really feel like the best foundation for like a full and active adventurous life is functional training. So even those people who are, maybe they were, an avid rock climber through their 20s, but they're getting busier, they can't do it as often, but they still want to be able to do it long into their later years, or maybe it's surf with their kids or ski with their grandkids or whatever. It's like, this is what you have to do in order to keep that kind of lifestyle up. And so those people maybe have never started quote unquote functional training, exactly. And so Adam allows them to start to dabble with this methodology, even if they don't see themselves walking into an affiliate right away. And I think actually Adam could be a gateway drug to the affiliate for people who have access to one, but are like, well, that's the old adage, like, well, I need to get in shape before I go to that gym, which we all know is silly, but there's a lot of people who feel that way. So if there is a warm and fuzzy way for you to dabble in functional training in your garage and actually effectively go from, 0 to, or scratch to snatch, I think is what Pat coined that term the other day.
That's good.
It's like, oh, that's a really compelling idea, actually, because there are so many people who could benefit from something like that. And then, hey, maybe they have an affiliate who's running the Adam program around them, and then they end up signing up for that gym, and they do have a little setup at home, but they have this perfect hybrid experience that we think is going to be really cool.
No, yeah, it sounds great. And so you guys just started recently, right? It was maybe a month. Like, well, I know there was a beta, but did the beta end like a month? Like, I was trying to figure out.
We went. Basically, the start of the year was the real initial live launch of Adam. We had it during Christmas, but that Christmas is like so noisy that it's even hard to get a word in edgewise about anything to anyone at that time. So look at it kind of like the beginning of the year, and the platform is growing so rapidly, like in as far as the feature set that it has. So like when we had it in January, it's come a long way since then. It will continue to evolve. So I mean, I know they say like if you're not a little bit embarrassed about your product when you first launch it, you launch too late, sort of thing. So we obviously, it wasn't what we wanted it to be when we launched, but we thought, well, this is still better than anything on the market, so let's get it out there. let's start getting feedback from people. Let's see what people want on it. So currently it's still a web-based app. It's not an iOS or Android app, which will be coming soon, probably early in the summer. But we wanted to like get a bunch of more features on the platform, get some feedback, find out like, you know, from users, you know, what they want before we went to the iOS, because it's harder to update once you go through the App Store. So we've basically been at it a few months now, and it's been really fun to see new people trickle onto the leaderboard. I know that there's a bunch of people out there who are using the app and not posting scores. So you know, we're gonna work on getting more people to post scores here. That's going to be one of our initiatives. So it just makes more fun for everyone if people are on the leaderboard and kind of bantering back and forth. But yeah, so it's been a few months, and it's been pretty fun to see it go. I don't know if you want to hear like kind of how it came about. I know we were going to start the call.
Oh yeah,
we kind of
definitely
over it, but essentially, I'll give you the quick story. Is basically I had my gym, and then obviously we all got sent home during COVID. So we were breaking at lunch to work out together at the gym every day, and that we really missed that immediately, obviously. So we started running classes on Zoom with my gym's coaches and some of our members and stuff. And we were actually impressed with like, okay, this is not a terrible experience. We're actually having a lot of fun. But the problem was like, I was using a barbell, and Shane had like, my brother had like a 70-pound kettlebell, and we didn't have the exact equipment. So we were kind of modifying stuff as we go. And so you lose that competitive element a little bit because you're not comparing apples to apples. And so like, how do we sync up? Oh, it'd be cool if we actually had the exact same equipment and we were doing, you know, the exact same workout, so we could compare our scores a bit more. And then I had members calling me from the gym about like, where do they get dumbbells? And if they were to get dumbbells, which load should they get for their house, and what other equipment do they need? And so we just saw these pain points of like doing this at home in a way that like, oh, we are actually in a pretty good position as a brand to solve some of these things. And so we had some hard goods coming down the pipeline already to go alongside the jump rope that kind of got shelved a little bit with the COVID thing and, you know, the whole supply chain issues. But we thought, well, let's see if we can add a few more things to this, and then just bring them all out as a package that you could get for your garage gym. It's basically an instant home gym setup. And let's see what kind of pricing we can do there, and just really give people a really good deal on a package of equipment, so that it's closer than going to buy like a Peloton bike than anything has ever been in the functional training space. Even though it will never be as simplistic as that, we at least have a path for people to take where they can answer a few questions, and then they get recommended a kit with all of the loads that they would need at their fitness level. And then it's just click, and then it shows up and you're good to go. So it was COVID that accelerated the process, but we were sort of heading this direction on some levels. And whether or not we came to this exact, you know, sort of model, I don't know if that would have happened, but you know, everything happens for a reason. So here we are.
No, that's great. And like I was talking, you know, Eric, I'm happy you guys are doing it, because I'm actually shocked that it hadn't been already done. Like,
it's the first thing I said. I'm like, how come no one's done this? Like what's taking so long?
But I'm glad to see that there's something out there finally, you know, for people to follow along to and to get started, whether they've done it before or they just want to start new. There's a path forward to them, rather than just, you know, the Peloton or a treadmill or a rower.
And, you know, there's nothing wrong with riding a Peloton bike, or there's nothing wrong with doing a hydro, you know, it's like, but the unique thing about our methodology is that you can legitimately claim that this is all they need to do to be very, very fit. And what every other methodology or every other fitness gimmick that has ever existed has claimed is like, all you need to do is our thing. And they try to, there's this big reach as far as like what you can do on a bike. That's why you'll see like spin classes, like having people do shoulder presses while they're riding a bike. And it's like, what are you doing? This is doing people a disservice, because you're not being honest with them about what they need to be a well-rounded, you know, athlete. So I think that's what's really unique about our methodology, and while there may be a bigger hump to get people into it, we know how sticky it is once you do get into it, and how, you know, effective it is once you start being consistent with it. Like we have already with Adam and a few of the people who are just in our close circles who had never done this before are just mind blown at how fast they have improved their fitness. And it's like, it's just something that's really unique to this methodology.
And Eric, you've used this. I just tinkered in it for a little bit, but is there I know there was like a tracker. Is there a way to kind of like track progress, or how does that?
Yeah, so we have a training journal. So every workout that you log goes into your training journal. And since we're pretty new with our programming, we haven't done a whole bunch of repeats, but obviously you'll be able to compare old scores to new scores and that kind of thing. We're also developing a benchmarks component to the training journal so that you can sort of look and put in, you know, a certain amount of benchmarks. And that will be largely tied to what we're doing on the affiliate side of things too, because a lot of the people at the gyms that we'll be working with, we already have 60, 70 or so gyms on the platform. We acquired Pat and Taz's warm up and workout last year. And so they've been doing this affiliate training thing, and they were the first actually to do it in the space and are really good at it and really connected to their gym members. So it's going to be really fun to get feedback on the platform and how they're delivering it to their members. And then their members will automatically get access to all of Adam, which is a cool perk to be able to offer your members. Like, you can get your programming at home, and you can even have a class being taught to you at home if you can't make it to the gym that day, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's nice.
So yeah, I forget where we started with that question.
Tracking. Yeah. What about from a tech side of things, Josh? What about integrations? Are you guys looking at like wearable integrations? Any kind of, you know, I guess bells and whistles on the wearable side?
We are. I'm not sure how much I can say about that.
Nice. Yet, I like that
publicly, but there is some really cool stuff in the works that's coming to people who do like to have that kind of extra data, so that when you log a score in Adam, you'll be able to get some more biometric data accompanied with like your score in terms of time and reps and that kind of thing.
Nice. Awesome. Well, Josh, thanks again for jumping on, and it's great to kind of hear what you guys are doing, and I'm excited to check it out more. And Eric, thanks as always for jumping on. And
my pleasure.
Yeah, great talking with you guys, and
thanks for having me, Colin. Appreciate it. Of course. Eric, it was good to see you.
You too, Josh. Pleasure as always.
All right.